Well, we're back, and it is time for Tao of the Day. Welcome to a Monday morning Tao of the Day, folks. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. I sure did, and I want to just take a moment to congratulate our good buddy here on Wisdom, Andy Scarantino, for getting another personal best at a run. She had a wonderful 10-mile run over in Philadelphia. So congratulations to her. If you guys have a number between 1 and 81, I would love to bring you up and talk a little bit about the Tao. What is the Tao, you ask? The Tao Te Ching, Frankie J. Frankie, it has been a minute since we've chatted, so I am happy to bringing you up. Frankie, how are you doing, man?
Hello, hello. I'm hanging in there.
That's good. That's good. I know a lot of your plans had changed. Are they still changing? Are they settling down? How are things going in your life?
At the moment, things are, I guess, content, settled, relaxed. I'm working diligently on launching my first solo podcast, May's Wealth on Fireside. So I've been working on that quite often. And other than that, I've been maintaining my health condition, which I found out you had the same health condition the other day, which I never knew. Um,
Hmm.
I had poked in a little bit when you were being interviewed by Dio,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize that we had similar medical backgrounds, and I was like, wow, I was surprised by that. So I'm
Yeah.
certain you can understand relapses and things along those lines medically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
I've
had
been,
I had I had a light one not long ago, but got it under control. And my doctor is, I don't take any meds, so my doctor and I are just monitoring it closely.
yeah, I do every 6 months. I do that Ocrevus infusion, and I in between when I have relapses, which were pretty heavy the last couple months, they give me a few days of steroid IV.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yep, and it
Prednisone.
helped. Yeah, yeah. Well, they give me right through. Yeah, they give me IV steroids,
Yeah.
and then they follow me
Ocra.
up with the
Oral.
7 day. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So other than that, I'm fine. I'm humble about it. It's nothing I can change or get rid of. I just manage it like yourself. But other than that, I've been great. What about yourself?
I've been doing really well. I've been doing really well. Lots of good things on the horizon. Don't know how they'll manifest or anything, but it's just nice to love the things that you're around. That's all. It's just nice to love what you do. It's nice to love what you do. It's nice to love who you're with, and right now I'm with you. So let's pick
All
a number.
right. My number today, oddly enough, is 22.
Why is that odd?
Well, I meant it's a number that's been bouncing around the last few days with various topics and people, and it's a number that is I believe in the number synchronicity
Yeah.
belief, and 22 is my number the last few weeks. So I'm just
Okay.
wondering if that number means anything.
I'm sure it does. So this is a little longer, but it doesn't. It just repeats itself quite a bit, so you kind of get it. It's a little bit of a beating over the head. So I'm going to get into it, and then we'll get your initial impressions. If you want to
Okay.
become whole, let yourself be partial. If you want to become straight, let yourself be crooked. If you want to be full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be reborn, let yourself die. If you want to be given everything, give everything up. The master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings. Because he doesn't display himself, people can see his light. Because he has nothing to prove, people can trust his words. Because he doesn't know who he is, people can recognize themselves in him. Because he has no goal in mind, everything he does succeeds. When the ancient masters said, if you want to be given everything, give everything up, they weren't using empty phrases. Only in being lived by the Tao can you truly be yourself.
Hmm. Man, you always get me good. I can relate to. all of that. Actually, it's
Yeah.
weird the way
Yeah.
it's worded
Right.
because and excuse me, in the last decade or a little longer, I've pretty much given everything up. And was it by choice? No, but I didn't fight to get it back either. So I guess in translation that's giving it up. Um and when I don't expect great things, it seems like things start happening more frequently and for great reasons. So that's my translation on that. Not sure what your translation is on
Well,
that,
no,
but
it's not. It's about understanding it from where we are. I do like to look at this one in particular as this like first line, last line. Last line, first line. And so the last line states, "Only in being lived by the Tao can you be truly yourself." Well, the first line is, "If you want to become whole, let yourself be partial."
hmm,
You know, and the interesting thing there is like, if you want to truly be yourself, according to this last line, if you want to truly be yourself, you have to be lived by the Tao, which means you're not the one in control of your life, which means you're not the one doing the living. The Tao is doing the living, and that is how you can be truly yourself. So
hmm,
when we get to this first line, which states, "If you want to be whole, let yourself be partial," I always see like, this is where we see teamwork makes the dream work. Right?
right,
This is where we see like you being lived by the Tao. You are yourself and you have your free will and all of that. But if you can just allow yourself the space to be lived by the Tao rather than trying to live on your own, right? Trying to do it on your own, separate, you
right,
know.
yeah,
Um with this rugged individualism, right? Like you can just hold on to yourself as the experiencer of the Tao living your life, right? And this is where we give
yeah.
everything up, right? If you want to be given everything, give everything up. You have to stop holding on to what you think you want
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, it's like living a pipe dream almost.
by trying to control everything. You mean?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you can't control everything, but there's, times where I admit I try to control everything in my life, and that seems to be those times where things start to spiral out of control.
Right.
And now it makes perfect sense. In my case, I can't speak for anybody
Of
else.
course. No, no, this is your Tao. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've found that when I, stop, take a breath, observe, and then restart, that things start to go a little bit smoother because I'm not trying to, you know, control everything. I can only make that phone call, and that person on the other end is going to do what they're going to do. I can't control what they're going to do. I can
Right.
only control myself dialing the phone and asking for that person to do what I need done. And it either gets done or it doesn't, but that's out of my control. But I've noticed, even if I change my tone or the way I ask the questions or the way I ask for things to be done, they get done. So it's very bizarre that you mentioned that.
Well, that's the thing. When you change, when you open yourself up to people like being, the Tao also states like when you don't trust people, you make them untrustworthy.
Huh.
So if you approach something and say, well, they're not going to do this because they're this kind of a person, well, then all of a sudden you make them untrustworthy. I was talking to, I mentioned Andy Scarantino a little bit ago, and I was talking to her yesterday, and she was talking about, like I'm going to be doing this race, and there was like, I have a lot of trepidation around it. I have a lot of like insecurity around it and stuff. And she definitely pointed out, like, well, that's not what the running community is. That's your story around the running community. And when you do that, you will make them that. You know what I mean? When you approach, like if you go to this race on Saturday and you have that in your mind, guess what you're going to see? You're going to see that which you're looking for.
Yeah,
You know?
and it's funny because we've talked before about detachment and things that I've detached from that are either out of my control or things that aren't gonna benefit me in any way, health wise, mentally, physically, all the above. And it seems like each day that goes by, I make my list shorter, but the things that are still on my list are the things that are most important. And I focus in on those things and spend the energy on the smaller list than I would have on the bigger list. So by cutting out things that I can't control more or less on my list and leaving the things on my list that I do have sole control of, it seems like more gets done even though the list is shorter.
Yeah. And I think that that's true. I think that that's true. Like when we can take a lot off our plate, a lot more gets done. Because
Yeah,
just as, the Tao talks about this all the time with this idea of like, the master does nothing and yet nothing gets left undone.
yeah,
When we are in that space, we don't do anything. Like even your small list will eventually, if you continue on the path to be a master, will eventually be nothing. And
correct.
that doesn't mean that nothing is important to you. That means that everything is important to you. Right?
Right.
The more like right now you're focusing on the things that you think fill you. But here in this verse, if you want to be full, let yourself be empty. Right
Yeah.
here in this verse, if you want to be full, if you want to be fulfilled, let yourself be empty. Don't have those three or four things that are important to you. That doesn't mean leave them out because
Hmm.
the master, in doing nothing, nothing gets undone, nothing gets left undone. And that's not saying push yourself to a place where you can't be at the moment, but it is saying recognize where you have those divisions, recognize where you have created a list at all. And when you can
Yeah.
do that, you are on your path to being empty because that list not only gets smaller, but eventually dissipates completely. And here
Yeah.
in this next section, the master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings. You individually, by having a list, aren't necessarily setting an example for anybody because they don't have the same list you do.
Correct.
So but the master, by residing in the Tao and removing all of that, sets an example for all beings because he doesn't display himself. And why would he display himself if he's got no attachment to the results? People can see his light. More
Huh.
people will be able to see your light when you have detached. When you are attached to an outcome, like someone isn't going to do something you want them to do, they can't see your light. They're only seeing resistance.
Right.
Because he has
Um,
nothing to prove, people can trust his words.
huh.
Because he has nothing to prove, how does that land for you at this point?
Well, it's deep because I was for the last uh 3.5 years or so trying to prove that I could, I'll just use my example. I was trying to prove that I could work with somebody and we could do a great podcast, having a partner. And all I was doing was holding myself back for that very reason because the other person didn't see it the way I saw it. They saw it the way they saw it. And there was like that resistance in between on my behalf as well. I was resisting seeing what their ideas were because it was my original idea. So I was being, I guess, selfish, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, and it was unintentional. It wasn't malicious. It was just I, assumed because I had the idea to begin with that I, by default, was in control, and I hate that word control. I was in charge, and it wasn't like that. I wasn't willing to give it a chance. I'm one of those people that is very, very hard to understand at first. And a lot of my relationships have been affected because of that.
Yeah.
And I own that. I have to learn to communicate better, be more thorough, um, more detailed when I explain things. But then I came to the conclusion, why don't I do something on my own and not to prove anything to anybody, but to prove to myself that I can even do it at all. And maybe moving forward, I can work with somebody.
Yeah. And in the last verse of this, if you want to be given everything, give everything up. When the ancient masters said, if you want to be given everything, give everything up, they weren't using empty phrases. Only by
No,
being lived by the Tao can you truly be yourself. Give up the idea that you're going to do it with someone else.
right.
Be lived by the Tao. You want to do a podcast? What are you waiting for?
And that's just it. Ever since I decided to do my own, I have booked guests. I've gotten more done. I have a launch date. I've gotten a lot of things done because I didn't have to rely on anybody else except myself. And I set goals for myself.
You can come up and land that if you want. I know you just got bumped. So um, yeah, and if anybody else wants to come, there is nobody in line. So come on up. Put yourself next. Pick a number. Go on.
But yeah, no, I did, I finally figured it out, through hard lessons, and I don't mind hard lessons. In fact, I would rather learn the hard way because then that way it's more instilled in me and I know that I can handle a lot. So in my ways, learning the hard way works for me. Now, what worked for my neighbor, I don't know. They all have,
Right.
everyone is different. But I learned very swiftly in the last year and a half that if I want to podcast and I want it to go my way, I should do it on my own and do
Yeah.
it as great as I can, and then go from there. And then that might entice people to want to come work with me on my terms and want to do it the way I do it by default. So with that being said, I appreciate everything that was just said to me because it just keeps me going, and I always
Oh,
appreciate
good.
everything you say to me, and I'm certain you know that by now.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
and you always have good stuff for me, and it's amazing the things that come out of the Daily Dow, and I appreciate it, and I'll land the plane like this and
Absolutely.
tell everybody listening, everybody needs to keep believing and listen to Martin John and get this information because it is crucial in in today's society, in my opinion. So, with that being said, I appreciate it as always, and I'm wishing you good health and hope that everything on your end is maintained and stays that way. And I'm certain we'll talk soon.
Yes, I am glad. And good luck with your podcast and everything. I appreciate you coming up.
And I will keep you posted on that. And with that, Frankie J out.
All right. Yeah. So I'm doing, yeah, no, my life is really good. I don't know, like things are just beautiful right now, like everything is just kind of really nice. So if anybody wants to come up and pick a number between 1 and 81, I'm going to probably look at, oh, Marcy's coming up. Good. I was going to look over 22 again, but I want to bring Marcy up and see what's going on. Hey,
That's
Marcy,
good.
how you doing?
Hi, Martin John. How are you?
I am very well. I had a delicious weekend, and
Ooh.
and I'm gonna be, even though I had this foot thing, I think it's cleared up, and I think I'm gonna run a race on Saturday, and we're just try and make it there. So we're
What
gonna
happened to your
we're
foot?
well, when I got back from the dark retreat, I ran 5 miles three times
Yes,
in
I
four
remember. I
days, and
remember.
but it's not broken. So, and it's feeling better. So
Okay.
I had an X-ray the other day. Nothing's broken. So I'm gonna try and run this race. It's really
Fabulous.
not, like, I mean, it's race is a strong word. I think I'm not gonna be pulling any like great times or anything, but it'll be good.
Okay. Well, it's good to see you.
It's nice to see you. Nice to see you. How are
Somebody
things?
somebody
How
gave
are
me a
things?
compliment the other day, Martin John. They said to me, "Do you know who is like your brother, who would be like the male version of you?" And I said, "Who?" And they said, "Martin John." And I
Whoa,
said,
who said
"Wow."
that?
This is a friend who
Oh
listens.
God,
Yeah.
that's
So
sweet.
yeah,
Like
it was.
I think that's a compliment for me as well.
Oh well, thank you, thank you. I wanted to share that with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had an interesting weekend. Not worth talking about.
Oh, okay.
Maybe another day.
Well, so let's pick a number and see what the
Yeah,
weekend
hold
is
on.
yielding.
Luna had picked one. 50 what? 55.
55.
You haven't had that one today, have you?
No. No. Let's see. Let me find a good translation of this. Um really quick. This is a good one. I do like this one.
Okay.
Um okay. Okay, well, yeah. A person filled with the power of Tao is like a baby boy. Bees can't sting him, wild beasts can't attack him. A baby has soft bones and weak muscles, but a firm grip. He hasn't had sex, but he can get an erection. That's because he's got a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And he can cry all day and never lose his voice. That's because he's at one with his world. If you're at one with the world, you know constancy. And if you know constancy, you have been enlightened. It's not
Hmm.
healthy to try and prolong your life. It's unnatural to impose the mind's will upon the body. People waste time and energy trying to be strong or beautiful, and their strength and beauty fade. They've only lost touch with Tao, and when you lose touch with Tao, you might as well be dead.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
So thoughts?
I don't have any.
Okay.
That was profound.
Yeah.
It's like maybe going back to your roots. I always say to people, the closer you are to one thing, or the further you are from one thing, the closer you are to the next thing.
Right.
And being born, and growing. So the closer you are to your end, the further you are from that beginning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
keep
it's interesting. I mean, I've talked to many people about this idea that like we remember kind of when we lost sight of the truth as children.
right.
Like when you were really young. I remember like looking at my parents one time going, "You're not my people." And then adopting them as my people kind of in this way of forgetting who my people were.
Well, wow. My mother used to tell me that when I was a little girl, she would come into my room and I would tell her to leave. And then I would tell her that my real mother was going to come get me soon.
Yeah.
And she asked me where my real mother was, and I would point to the sky.
Yeah.
And of course, that was taken away from me. It
Yeah.
happens to all of us, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
They say that more and more this is happening. Like old souls move into the body later and later. Like you can move into your body as late as 5 years old so that you don't experience the trauma of childbirth and the
Yep.
trauma of being young.
Yes.
Like I remember, being like 2 or 3 or whatever and like really starting to look around and wake up at 2 or 3, kind of being like, oh, this
Isn't that
isn't
called a
what I remember.
walk-in? I think they call that a walk-in.
A walk
Someone
in?
who, yeah, someone who walks in new life that's already been established. So the baby
Mm,
is born and they live till they're a toddler, and then all of a sudden they're awakened, and it's like they're a different person.
yeah. And
Yeah.
that's when, that's this exact concept of like, oh, now your soul has attached itself so it doesn't
Yes.
have to take on the trauma that is, because it's an older soul. It knows the game. It's like we're not going to get caught up in this. And so here we see like You know, it's interesting because a person filled with the power of the Tao is like a baby boy. Bees can't sting him, wild beasts can't attack him. Like, of course, those things can happen, but I think the point is made that, you know, when you're with the Tao, you can uh, allow your body to be a separate thing that you just have experiences through without having to check in all the time. Oh, I'm cold. Oh, I'm hot. Oh, I'm this.
Oh
Oh, I'm
Lord,
stung. Oh, I'm
yeah,
that.
yes. It's like sometimes things will happen, or I'll get I'll puncture something in my finger with something, and sometimes my kids will look at me because I haven't reacted, and I say, I don't know, it's just a feeling.
Right.
It's not hurt. It's not a good feeling. It's just a feeling. Period.
Yeah.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah. And I think that's a place where it's like, oh, this experience I had. And I know when, you know, and I've brought this up a lot, when I got stung by that scorpion, it was like, oh, this hurt. And yeah, it hurt, but it wasn't until my mind raced that it was a problem.
Uh huh.
You know, and then I had to calm my mind down. But it was when my mind raced into the physical
Right.
that was the problem. The problem wasn't the sting. The problem wasn't the cold sweats. The problem wasn't all of that. Like, all of that is fine. All of that is taking place. The problem was that I thought some way about it.
Yeah.
The
So
baby
we
has soft,
exacerbate things
right. A
just by
baby has
thinking about
soft
them.
bones and
Right.
weak muscles, but a firm grip.
Facts.
What's that?
Facts. That's a fact.
Facts.
Yeah.
Yes, facts. You know, I love those videos of like babies like grabbing onto a stick and then you lifting the stick and the baby just kind of growing up like it's like, God, how do they do that? You know, like holding on, man, such a beautiful thing. And then like their ability to like stand upright, like, you know, when you put them on their feet, they know how to stand.
That's
Like it's so,
instinctual. That's an
yeah.
instinct because if you hold them up, their legs will instinctively start to pedal.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've never been so close to a child, like for that period of time, to be able to experiment with them. Like, I know that
I
sounds
have
weird,
plenty.
but he's
I
got
have
lots
many,
of
so
energy. Thus he can get an erection even though he hasn't had sex, and can cry all day and never lose his voice. That's because he's at one with the world.
absolutely.
You know, I love that. I love that, like, vital essence, right? That idea that, like, if you are that, if you are that in line, you can do something that would, that we would believe should be able to, like, your voice should go, but you're not yelling with any resistance. You're just yelling. You're just crying all day with no resistance to it. As adults, we have so much resistance to yelling. We're trying to speak over things. We're trying to resist people from hearing other things so they can hear us, and we're offering this resistance in the world. But when we're at one with the world, we can cry all day and never lose our voice.
I don't know that I would spend my time crying, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. If you're at one with the world, you know constancy, things that are constant, things that are constantly changing and growing. And if you know constancy, you've been enlightened. Just like this moment right now is constant, and this moment right now is where I am. This moment. No matter if that means I'm doing homework or I'm doing dishes or I'm cooking or I'm doing something else, whatever. Like, all of those things are happening in this moment. Where am I right now? This really kind of like just saying that, my heart just kind of goes, ooh, like wait until that next moment that you can just be present in the moment. And it's like, I can do that right now while I'm talking to you. You know, I can just be in meditation during this conversation. Like, that's possible to achieve that. Just
Yeah, I like that.
just step away from the body and let the body fill this moment with you. It's not healthy to try and prolong your life. And that's interesting as I sit here and I think about like moving into a meditative state, while I'm here, because I start to recognize that, oh, being here in my body with you is me trying to prolong my life. It's trying to have a grasp on the life that is being had on the physical. It's unnatural to impose your mind's will upon the body.
I mean, I get it. I don't. I it's not natural to prolong your life. Um, I totally get it. And I resonate with that because I have a sister who is very ill, and she's told me many times, if I didn't think that I would go to hell because she's very Catholic, I would just end everything right now. She doesn't feel like she needs to be here anymore.
Yeah.
She's really comfortable with who she is, and she says, I don't want to come back.
Yeah. That's this line, it's unnatural to impose the mind's will upon the body. Let the body have its space, and the mind doesn't have to try and be like, no, the body needs this. The body needs warmth. The body needs comfort. The body needs sex. The body needs these things. People waste time and energy trying to be strong or beautiful, and their strength and beauty fade.
Oh, yeah, I love that. It takes a really enlightened person to understand that last phrase.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's just a society that we are currently living in, where everything is about work out, you know, get Botox. And it's like, why? What happened to having meaningful conversations? Doing
Yeah.
something that you enjoy? My son, when he was 16, told me he wasn't interested in anybody's looks because he says, when I'm old and I'm sitting across from someone, I'm not going to care what they look like. I'm going to care that I can still talk to them and that we still
Yeah.
care about each other.
Yeah. And those people that have wasted their time on strength and beauty, or being strong or beautiful, they've lost touch with the Tao. And
They
when you
have,
lose touch with the Tao, you might as well be dead.
wow,
It's a strong statement.
it is. I mean, a lot of us are pretty much just walking around waiting for our bodies to expire.
That's right. And it's not saying you should be dead. It's saying you might as well be, because
Yeah,
you're not doing anything. You're not doing you're not invigorating your body and mind and whole you. You're not invigorating the you. You're focused on a singular thing. That
right.
singular thing is not going to bring you that bliss that comes with knowing you as the observer, you as the higher, never ending being that is Tao. And
I'm
it's not even
tuning
a
out.
being, but whatever.
I'm going to leave you. Have
Hmm.
a beautiful day.
Absolutely.
I'll
You
talk with
as
you
well,
soon.
Marcy. Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye bye. So we have covered 22 and 55. A lot of double digits today. Anybody else have a double digit number they want to look at? Here we are talking about Tao of the Day. We're talking about the Tao. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written about 600 BCE, all about how to live a more reasonable life. I did want to revisit 22 briefly if nobody wanted to come up. And I won't recall why. I'm just thinking I would look at it and see if something came up. Um, when we were talking to Frankie, um, and I'm trying to think if anything that we talked about with Marcy kind of related to all this. It's this center verse that really kind of catches me. The master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings. Because he doesn't display himself, people can see his light. Because he has nothing to prove, people can trust his words. Because he doesn't know who he is, people recognize themselves in him. See, there's all of these things that we have to like that have to. There's all these things that I really love about what the master is expressed in this verse, right? Like the master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings. It doesn't, we think we're setting example for our children. We think we're setting examples for, other people. We do all these things. We teach, I mean, I had someone the other day tell me that he'd love to be a guest on my podcast, and he can rattle off a whole bunch of stuff that'll help my guests. And my response was, if you're looking to help my guests, you are not going to be invited onto my podcast. My guests don't need your help. My guests can help themselves. That's what I mean. The title of my podcast is Recover Yourself, not recover what this fool thinks, not pick up some information from this jackass, right? Like no, like like I posted this a while ago. Do you think you can help us? Do you think you can help other people, or do you want to help other people? You're wrong. Like there are no other people. There are no other people. And when we can recognize there are no other people, and that's not, of course there are other people, but there are no other people, like, because you can't see other people, you can see yourself. And when you can quiet yourself down enough, you can see yourself as everybody. The master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings. You find that bliss, and that bliss is an example that people will follow. Money is that instant gratification that a lot of people end up following. Um, Praise and honor are instant gratifiers that lots of people turn to follow. But when you, as a master, can reside in the Tao, you will set an example for all beings. You won't display yourself, and people will be able to see your light. You'll have nothing to prove, and everyone can trust you. That's how we want to live this life. We want to be in a place where we don't have anything to prove. And when we notice that we're trying to prove something, we have the wherewithal enough to step back at some point. We don't have to do it right away, but at some point, step back and question, well, why do I need to prove this? Why is this something that I need to prove? Why is this something that I'm trying to get understood by other people? I'm here right now. So the master, by residing in the Tao, sets examples for all beings. Because he doesn't display himself, people can see his light. How many of us are going out trying to display yourself? I mean, maybe me doing Tao of the day, is me trying to display myself. And so maybe it's possible you can't see my light because I'm here displaying myself on wisdom and all of my knowledge and all of this stuff. And I'm trying to prove myself. And I don't think that's what I'm doing, but it's possible. Because he doesn't know who he is, people recognize themselves in him. And I'll tell you, me not knowing who I am is key. It's so important for me to be able to let go of who I think I am. Because even yesterday, I was talking earlier about talking to my buddy Andy, and we were talking about this idea that, like, I want to let go of who I think I am. And that's why I'm going to be running this race on Saturday, because who I was 6 months ago was someone who would not do that. Now I'm doing it. I'm challenging myself. Una reta, right? A challenge. Or it's un reto. I don't know. Either way, it's the masculine feminine thing, just like Stephen Mitchell. We just flip them around. No big deal. But that's a thing, right? Like, I want to be someone I don't know. I want to meet myself every morning. Like this morning I went for a run just to, prep. I'm gonna run a couple times a day between now and Thursday. Friday I'll take a rest day, and then Saturday I'll run the race. But it's all about, like, where we're at. And it's all about, like, are we able to challenge ourselves to be more? That doesn't mean I need to, take up running as a thing now. I mean, if I like it, I take it up. If I don't, I won't. And it's all just kind of growth, and it's all just being where I am, how I am, and that's cool. Like, I can be there. But it is important for me to recognize what I'm saying no to. And when I say no to running a race, and when I say no to running, I have to look at that and I have to ask myself, well, if I know myself so well that this is something I don't do, well, I think it's important to challenge that, because that closes my mind off. It closes my mind to different aspects of who I can be. And I'd much prefer to be moving in the direction of who I can be than sit around with old ideas of who I was. So I appreciate every one of you for listening and catching up with me here on Tao of the Day. I am always open to chatting with you. I'm always, trying to. I'm also going to be working with Julie Howlett on the odd occasion that she can meet with us here on Tao of the Day as she goes on her journey. All the best to her and each and every one of you. Love you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys being here. It's such an honor to be able to host Tao of the Day. It is something that I've done on different social media platforms for a long period of time, well over a decade. And it's because the Tao is such a beautiful, rejuvenating space to grow. And Graciela is going to join us. Yeah. How was the birthday
Good
weekend?
morning. It was so good. Oh
Wonderful.
my gosh, it was wonderful. Yes. Two stepkids couldn't join us, but the other three were here, and it was just so nice. We had a fire and cake and all that. So, yes.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yay. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Just hanging out here with the Dow. We had two double numbers. We had 22 and 55 so far. So it's like a lot of doubles
Hmm.
today.
I wonder why.
I don't know. Is today a double number? It's two.
Do we know
Is,
how old Daniel F. Harb is? I should text him and ask him, and I should ask for that
yeah, I don't
number.
know how old he is. Oh, that would
Hmm.
can we get an answer that quick?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh wow. Oh, that's good. Well, let's find out. We're gonna do one dedicated, because I did see that it is his birthday. Um,
It's definitely under 81. I'm certain of that. Like I've seen this person in real life. He's not.
81.
I know. What's the highest Dow? Isn't it 81?
81. Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Well,
yeah.
that's what I mean. His age is definitely
He is
lower than
not.
that.
He is not 81. Yeah,
Right. Like we will find his number.
yeah.
That's what I meant.
I'm ser-
Anyway, I do know that he's on wisdom. Oh, he did read it. Okay, he read the text message. Let's see if he answers.
we are. This is community building.
Yes, people. We are texting on the back end, fellow top mentors, and who he's literally live
He's
on another
live right now.
talk. That's
Yeah,
right. But this man, he is a business mogul and he carries around multiple phones. So I'm texting him as we speak because I know that he has his other phone in his hand. But anyway, let's just do I'm gonna guess. So let's just do
you're gonna guess his age.
yeah, I guess. Oh no, I'm just picking a number. Okay, let's just call it that. I'm picking a number for today, and it is 67.
Wow.
I
Like
think he told me.
I was like right before you said 67. I'm staring at it and go, she's gonna pick 67. Amazing.
Really?
Yep, yep, yep.
Oh,
Okay,
what a
so
powerful way. Go.
some say that my teaching is nonsense. Others call it lofty but impractical. But those who have looked inside themselves, this nonsense makes perfect sense. And those who put it into practice, this loftiness has roots that go deep. I have just three things to teach: simplicity, patience, compassion. These three are your greatest treasures, simple in actions and in thought. You return to the source of being, patient in both patient with both friends and enemies, and you accord the way things are.
Mm,
Compassionate towards yourself, you
mhm.
reconcile all beings in the world. That's it.
Yes. Yes. Oh, self-compassion is huge in my coaching.
Compassionate towards yourself. You reconcile all beings in the world. Talk to me about that. That popped out really strong for me just now. So tell me your
Yeah.
thoughts.
Well, I think Poppy Jamie, the author of the book we're reading in the book club, can probably also relate. I'm still hoping and communicating with her that she will join me on a talk, but it's, you know, you cannot have perfectionism. You cannot be a perfectionist. And in my experience, let me just speak from my experience, right? I cannot be perfectionist in the things that I'm doing and be self-compassionate at the same time, forgiving and understanding of the reality of how things look and how they are, and how I see them, and how they are not perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so self-compassion plays a part. It's one of the four pillars for confidence, in my opinion, because confidence gets built with trial and error. And if you're, with experience and with experimenting and putting things into action, right, as experiments. And so if you're not self-compassionate after each failure, you're not going to try again. You
Mm,
don't do the day to day if you are not self-compassionate. And so these are the things I like to point out in people that don't think they are compassionate towards themselves. Well, let me reflect back to you the many ways that you just described how you actually are. And then confidence starts coming through, right? Because then there's that reflection. But for me, I mean, we're starting the week after a week of mayhem in my house, and my room particularly looks like a tornado has been through, right? And if I wasn't self-compassionate, I would be beating myself up over it. I would be super stressed out. I would not be here having this conversation, Martin John, because once I go live, I sit down and I pay
yeah.
attention, right? And I pause. I'll be walking all over the place while I'm in the queue, but once we are live, I try my best to sit down and relax unless Elijah needs me, and that's a different story. But,
Of course.
you know, if I wasn't self-compassionate, I couldn't be who I am.
So
And
how do you think this line, like, because the compassionate towards yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world. How does
well,
that
I feel
second
like,
part, what does that mean to you at this
well,
moment?
when I understand how the nature of my own imperfection, it allows me to see others in the same way. It's like that, in my church we describe charity as the pure love of Christ, and it has
Hmm.
to do with full acceptance and full openness, right? And I know that it's a little contradictory to be all patriarchal and shoving church down people's throats and be open and acceptance, right? This is the middle line that I straddle, right? Because I'm trying to guide people to do things differently in the patriarchy, right? And so it's you know, I don't want to beat myself up for my own imperfections any more than I want my husband to beat me up for my imperfections, any more than I want him to experience me beating him up for his imperfections. Does that make sense?
Right.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah. And so building my own habit of self-compassion allows me to step back and look at the way people go and maneuver things with an objective lens of the same self compassion, in my experience, right? In
Yeah.
my experience, not everybody steps back to observe, but that eagle eye view is really what allows you to put things into perspective and to then strategize and get things moving, especially if you're stuck, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this whole, we're going to kind of start looking at this as a whole. Like the first section of this is just this statement kind of being made from Lao Tzu about the Tao. He says, look, some say that my teaching is nonsense. Others call it lofty but impractical. But those who have looked inside themselves, right? Those are the people that are living simple in actions, patient in with friends and enemies, and compassionate towards themselves. Those who have looked inside themselves. This nonsense makes perfect sense. And to those who have
Right.
put it into practice, The loftiness has roots that go deep. So that's really just expressing, hey, this is what we've experienced.
Right.
And then we go into what it is that the teachings are that these experiences were had. I have just 3 things to teach: simplicity, patience, and compassion.
Yes. Yes. I mean, those are the things I need to be taught daily.
Right.
Those are the things I strive for. And every day I keep surprising myself because I drop the ball constantly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's bring it back to Elijah's birthday because it's the most recent example. But I'm not I kind of refuse to go all extravagant, right, for a 3-year-old. And so I kind of tend to be a little bit more frugal than that. And I was still so shocked, like literally shocked. That was the word, that I spent $100 at the Dollar Tree. Like, what?
Yeah.
So I bought almost 100 items because now they're $1.25, right? Now they're not $1.
What?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it's so many things are happening and so
The
many things are
world. Oh
shifting. That's
man.
right. That's right. We're still getting paid the same, but prices keep going up. So now it's $1.25. So I must have bought I would say at least, I don't know, 90 items. And you still look around and it's like, where are they? Like,
Yeah.
where did they go? Right?
Yeah.
Because it's just all fluff
That's right.
and simplicity. Um, is really the thing. I actually bought him something else and I'm returning it because we didn't even open it. And I draw the line at not even being interested, right? It's like,
Right.
if we're not interested in this thing that we bought, I'm either going to put it away for Christmas or return it and get my money back.
Yeah.
Because clearly there's enough already there.
Yeah. It's
And this
so
is the
important.
lesson. Yeah, this is the lesson I was discussing with Dr. Rao that my father taught me that has influenced my money mindset. I think I already told you this. I'm pretty sure I did. How, rich is not the one that has the most, but the
Yeah.
one that needs the least. And
Right.
so if we have everything we need, we are so filthy rich, right?
Yeah.
Hashtag first world problems. I
Absolutely.
lost I
Absolutely.
lost something. I lost an earring or something like that, right?
Yeah.
um yeah, really just pondering all of these things. I love starting my week with these ponderings. Usually this type of conversation is what I tend to ponder on Sunday prior
Mm.
for my week to start, or prior to my week starting. Now I'm getting lost in syntax and grammar and whatnot.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Look how cool that we were both synced on the same number.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm so
Yes,
grateful. I'm so grateful for
yes.
you and
Mm.
just sharing with you. Thank
I'm
you.
grateful for you, Martin John. I knew that you were about to leave. You were already saying goodbye, and I'm like, oh,
Oh,
let me
no,
go really
no, no,
quick.
no.
Let me see if I make
I
it.
always, those are long for a reason. Like I say, I have a long goodbye so people can step up if they need.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just standing there waving, like, bye,
Yep, yep,
bye.
yep.
Yep.
I'll just
Goodbye.
up, and eventually, I'll pull the plug. But I always like to
Oh,
leave a little. I always like to leave a little space for people to be like, let me get on right away. So
yes. You're amazing. Thank you
no,
so
thank you.
much. We'll be around. It's going to be a
Yes,
beautiful week, and it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So
it
we can
is.
definitely, yes, we can definitely do some talks around that. It'll be great.
Oh yeah, that's that. Yeah, tomorrow's my on recovery talk. So I should
Hmm.
look at that.
And also,
Look at
you know
you.
what,
Like
Martin John?
I don't even align. I don't even align with things like that. I was just like, oh, I mean, I knew it was, but I didn't even think about the fact that like, yeah, you can do something with that. Like,
Well, honestly, if it weren't for social media, I wouldn't know these things because I don't
mhm.
watch the news. And if it weren't for my involvement in social media, I would live like under a rock.
Yeah,
Totally, totally.
I learn about stuff like this just because I'm embedded in the recovery world and the
Right, right.
counseling world and stuff. So
Yes.
yeah,
So I was going to invite you. I'm not sure what our time difference is, but I would love to host you on my stage
oh
on
yeah,
a Saturday at 2 p.m.
Saturday at 2 p.m. and you're
Not
Eastern,
this
right?
coming Saturday. Yeah, not this coming Saturday, but a
Yeah,
Saturday. I would just follow up with you and pick a day.
2 p.m. Eastern. Sure. Yeah, I'll reach out to you
Yeah.
off of Wisdom, and we'll
And if
and
that doesn't work, we can definitely pick another day. You have
well,
never been a guest on my talk.
Saturdays aren't always great for me, but some Saturdays are. So like like this Saturday would work, but that's not going to work. So but
Well,
you
maybe
know,
it
like
does.
I
I'll
kind of
follow
have
up.
I what's that?
I said maybe it does work. I'll follow up
Oh,
with
well,
you.
yeah. So yeah, there are like I usually have standing. I have a standing Saturday thing. So that's usually I'm not even on Wisdom on Saturdays, but that's not because
That's
I
right.
have some like I'm not on Wisdom on Saturdays. That's not why. So I would definitely be able to do that. But yeah, I'll reach out to you and we'll hone.
Plus, this Friday is your interview, right? No, wait, that was last Friday on
That
the
was last
29th.
Friday.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
now I'm living in the
Mm-hmm.
past. Thank you so much, Martin John. And yay, have a great
Yeah.
day.
You as well. You as well.
Bye.
Bye bye. So as we're, like as we're wrapping up the 67, I mean, Graciela and I wrapped it up, but I just wanted to kind of go over this like simple in actions and in thoughts, you return to the source of being. Yeah, the more simple you can get your mind, the more you don't have to overthink things. Someone told me yesterday, I think you're overthinking this, and about my running and stuff. And I was like, yep, probably. I mean, I don't think I'm thinking too much, but then ultimately I started thinking about it. And I was just like, I'm probably thinking too much. Just gotta shut it down. Just shut it down. Just show up when it's time to show up. Do the thing when it's time to do the thing, and then go home when it's time to go home. Patient with both friends and enemies, you accord the way things are. Like I'm pausing here because I'm just thinking about how patient. Yeah, I really love my patience. I do have anxiety at times, but I do love my patience, and I do love how patient I can be. It's beautiful, it's beautiful to be patient, especially with your friends. I remember one time I was dating someone, and I had to wait for somebody to. So I was dating someone. They were at my place. I had roommates. They were not there. One of my roommates had a friend of his who neither my girlfriend at the time nor myself liked, but he was coming over to pick something up of his after we had a big party. And I was cordial to the person that me and my girlfriend at the time didn't like. And when he left, and she, shot daggers at him and did all of that kind of stuff. And when he left, she was like, "Why? How do you do that? Why do you do that? Why are you nice to him?" And I'm just like, "Because he's a human being, and he's a friend of somebody that I dearly love. Of course, I'm going to be nice to him. What benefit is it for me not to be nice to him? Is he an enemy? Is that who I'm being nice to? Right? Patient with both friends and enemies, you accord the way things are." Like, the Tao also states to have an enemy is to be an enemy. And that's not something that I will willingly elect to be for anybody. And then this one wraps up: compassionate towards yourself, you reconcile all beings in the world. Why is that? Why do you reconcile all beings in the world? Because you're compassionate towards yourself. Well, the only reason that I can think of is there are no other people. You experience this world and you experience everyone in it from your perspective, from where you are. You are connected to all of those people and you're perceiving them through your own identity. And so when you can get rid of that identity and recognize that you are all of these other people in the world, literally, then you can grow into reconciling each and every one of them. And trust me, when you reconcile your shit, when you are compassionate towards yourself, everything around you is going to fall into place and the people around you will grow. They will be enlightened and they will be loving and compassionate towards themselves. That's how this works. That's the bliss that we find when we look inside That's the bliss that we find when we are connected to ourselves and to each other. Thank you so much for joining me. If you benefit from the work I do, consider giving me a tip through Venmo at martinjohn_Garcia. That's the arroble, the at sign, martinjohn_Garcia. You can also leave, like, I just today added Tao of the Day to my list of testimonials. So if you wanted to leave a testimonial about Tao of the Day, you can find a place to leave me a testimonial in my link tree, which you can find here on Wisdom. I do Tao of the Day weekday mornings here on Wisdom, and I'm always open to meeting new people, talking about new numbers, and going through the Tao together. Love you guys so much. This is such a beautiful community. I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm glad that you took your time today to spend some time with me. Until next time, keep recovering yourself.